Hey everybody, Regina Andler here, and it is time for Coffee with Regina. And today I have my friend Danny Bermant with me, and hopefully I pronounced your last name
You
right.
have, you have. Love you to be here.
Thank you so much for letting me know I pronounced your name right, because you have no idea how many times I actually get them wrong. And I want to tell everybody a little bit about Danny. So Danny helps established coaches and consultants attract their ideal clients through joint venture partnerships. And until June 2023, he was the director of partnerships for Merassi, which is an education company that's enabled thousands of students to build and launch courses to grow their impact and revenue. How cool is that? He's supported over 26-figure launches for both clients and for other joint venture partners that have generated actually millions of dollars in revenue. So Danny's passion is people, and I love that folks refer to Danny as Captain JV. He is a prolific networker, and he's supported over 300 JV partners and works with some of the biggest names in marketing. And Danny's built a sizable network of over 4,000 contacts across every major industry. And Danny says nothing gives him more pleasure than enabling both businesses and nonprofit organizations to forge new and fruitful partnerships. So that is all about Danny. Welcome to Coffee with Regina.
Thank you, Regina. It's lovely to be here.
So, when it comes to joint ventures, a lot of the audience, I know we have people watching on all the platforms right now. They're on Facebook, they're on LinkedIn, and they're on YouTube at the moment. I've got notifications. And I know that a lot of people watching don't even know what a joint venture is. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and what a joint venture is?
Yeah, there is a mystery around what the word means, because a joint venture can actually refer to a lot of different things. If you have ever flown with an airline to a destination, you'll know that some airlines, they basically co-host the airline service. So if I fly to the US, I might fly with British Airways one way and Air American Airlines the other direction, and like Virgin Airlines and then the Delta also share routes. So there are joint ventures where basically companies decide to join forces to deliver a service. For the purpose of marketing, a joint venture partnership is basically where two companies agree to join forces to promote services that they have in common. So you, for example, will be one business here that might be a Facebook ads expert, and there might be another business here that is an expert in building a web presence, and they both have complementary services, so it makes sense for them to work together.
So that actually is a really good explanation as far as that last thing that you said. They're complementary services. So when you joint venture, it's really connecting with those other businesses that they basically have your same audience. Is that
correct?
Right?
Correct. You're broadly speaking, you're serving similar people, and they have similar aspirations. They're trying to achieve similar things, and you both offer things that both your audiences need, right? So if you promote, if I build websites, right, and I have a partner here who does Facebook ads, I know that if I tell my audience about them, it's something my audience actually need. So I'm actually helping them by doing that.
So when it comes to connecting joint ventures, tell us a little bit about what you do specifically, because I'm thinking, okay, so I can go out and find some people that I can connect with and create a joint venture. So how do you do what you do for these companies?
So I help companies in three ways. The first thing is identifying who is a perfect fit joint venture partner, because people have this assumption that I do something and you do something different from me, and why don't we work together? And so the first thing you have to establish is, do you actually have are the people that you want to partner with a fit? So and that means you actually have to do some due diligence about the audience you serve, exactly who are these people, what are the things that they're struggling with, what are they trying to achieve. So it's identifying who are really good fit partners for you. The second thing that I help with is actually helping you to onboard those partners. So that means if you decide to work together, what does that look like in practice? Are we going to, because a joint venture can mean a number of things. A joint venture can mean that you decide to co-host a live event together. It could mean that I'm running a webinar next week. Can you promote it? And then it may be that you're promoting something in December, late December or something. Can I promote that? But it could be something like we agree to just cross-refer to each other. We both have clients, and we agree to work in a way that we refer clients to each other. Or it may be that we run a mastermind group, and I'd actually like you to run a class to my group, and that could be a really good way for you to get clients. So it's discussing agreeing the scope of the partnership, and then putting that in place. The third part, and this is the most important, is how can you actually get fantastic results together? It's not good enough to just get partners and work together. You've got to decide how can you actually both raise your game, because partnerships is often a bit of a tick box exercise. So people will try and get as many partners as possible on board, and I'll promote you, I'll promote you, I'll promote you, I'll promote you. That's not a very good way to work. Ideally, what you'll find is if you have 20 or 30 partners, about 6 to 8 of those partners will bring in 80% of your business. So what you want to do is when looking through the partners you work with, who are the ones you're getting the best results with, and what can you do together to get even better results?
So that was a lot of information. And I have to tell you, in all of the time that I've thought about joint ventures, I know you and I met through the JV directory, and
Correct.
which is, that's like a breeding ground for people to connect and create these joint ventures.
Yeah.
And I've never actually thought it through the way you just explained it. I really just thought of it as hey, you have a complimentary service. We should work together. We should do something, or I can refer you. You can refer me. The big key that you mentioned was that how are you going to work together, and the agreement of what does that mean if the two of you are going to work together. And is there like when you create what you create for people, is there like a formal agreement that is put into place as to how you're going to work together?
There's no contract as such, but what you do is you are really being clear with each other on what you want to do together. If you meet to decide something, you actually document how you're going to work together, and you make sure there is a follow-up process. So let's just say I'm running a launch in April, and you said, great, you're going to promote it. You need to actually formally agree, okay, great. When can you promote it? Like, what dates can you support me? You actually have to go into specifics about how you're going to work together. If you just meet with someone and say, yes, I'll support you, many of the people you work with will forget about the commitment they've made, and nothing will happen. A little bit like when I used to network early in my career. I used to go to networking meetings, and people used to stand up and say, does anyone know anybody who needs an accountant, right? And someone will say, oh yeah, I meet people all the time. If I know someone who needs your services, I'll tell you. You are never going to get a referral that way. It's got to be a process of, like, let's meet up. Who do you know in your network who might need my services? Let's just actually look at some of the people you're working with, right? It's got to be, everything has got to be structured, right? If you agree to work with somebody together, great. Okay, what's the next step? When are we going to meet next? Right? So in that respect, yes, there needs to be not so much a formal agreement, but you have to be, there has to be a process. Everything has to be documented. And there needs to be lots of signposting to the person you're working with, so they're very clear on what your expectations are.
It's funny when you were saying that. I was just talking about calls to action recently in another live that I did this past week, and one of the things that I mentioned was, as individuals, as humans, we have so much going on that we need to be told what to do. And so if you want somebody to actually do something, whether, it's the next step, if it's a joint venture or whatever, you have to actually tell them what it is that you want to do and give them instructions. If you don't, it may or may not happen.
Absolutely. I mean, a good example is, I'm running a webinar on Thursday. I'm not going to send just one email. right? I'm going to have to send people a reminder. The webinar's tomorrow. On the day itself, I need to send them a reminder, and because stuff happens and people forget, and not everyone. You have to remember that you're relying on the fact that the people you're working with are as organized as you are. You're going to be working with JV partners who are running a business by themselves, who fly by the seat of their pants, and often don't think about what they're doing till the day itself.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because I actually have a masterclass running next week, and I went out and I originally asked some folks, hey, can you help me out and refer some people? And literally I got crickets. Everybody was like, oh yeah, I can help you, and nothing. Then I went back to those same people and said, it would be really great if you could just go into the group and just click the invite button and invite 25 of your friends who you think might get value from this class. All of a sudden, they started doing it because I was more specific about the ask.
Yeah. It's all about having clear instructions. It's like if you have kids, right? If you say to your kids, okay, can someone clear up the kitchen today? Nothing's going to happen, right? You've got to have a rota, right? You're going to have a rota, and your kids know which day is their day, and it's all like you put like a list up on the fridge, and like then it happens, right? It's the same thing. We're human beings. We need signposting. We need very clear instructions.
Yeah.
If you want to get things done.
So when you think about joint ventures, and I know you work with some folks who are like, higher end companies, and you connect companies together. So what if you're a smaller coach or consultant, and you're maybe, you're just starting out and you're looking to connect? Where would you start?
So if you're a smaller coach and consultant, and you're thinking about, okay, where can I start? I think thinking first about who else serves my clients, right? Who else do I know who serves my clients? So it could be something as simple as actually looking through your LinkedIn networking and searching, right? So it may be that I'm serving small business owners. Are there other people I work with, like accountants, like people who else works with business owners? It might be people who are financial advisors, or people who advise on managing wealth. So it's thinking about who are businesses that you work with, because it could be people who could refer clients to you. Is there a local network that you're part of, and looking there, and then it's also asking online. So other entrepreneurs that you see who, for example, do you see friends of yours who are marketing themselves on Facebook or on LinkedIn? Ask them. You see friends of yours who are also selling their services. They're highly visible, right? Obviously already. Reach out to them. Ask them, like, who how do you get clients? Who are you working with? Are you part of a network? I had somebody on my podcast called Heather Pierce Campbell a couple of weeks ago, and she became an attorney straight out of college. She was never part of a law firm. And what she did is she basically looked up every local law firm. She saw law firms that were in the news. She wrote them down. She added them to the spreadsheet. She just reached out to them, and she met up with them for coffee. She asked them if they could meet up for coffee, and she just asked them questions about, like, where do you get clients from? What sort of cases do you handle? What sort of cases do you not handle? So there's actually a lot of outreach you could do just to people in your own network. I'm always amazed at just how helpful people are. If you reach out to people and you ask for help, and you say, I work with these people, who do you know? You'll be amazed at how supportive people are. People see you're starting up a business, you're looking for clients. It's not easy. People want to help you.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people are scared to ask. And
yeah,
but
it's all in their head. It's a mindset issue. People would rather spend a fortune on advertising They'd rather waste a lot of time on building complicated social media campaigns. I'm not saying you don't have to do those things. I'm just saying that if you're starting from scratch, right, there are an awful lot of things you can do to get in front of clients that don't cost you money and that don't cost you time. And that involves reaching out to people. And it's much, much easier than doing anything else and much more rewarding. And the only person that's stopping you, the only person who's got a bad feeling about it is you. No one you reach out to will have be anything but supportive.
Yeah, and there was that saying that goes around all the time. The SW. Some will, some won't, some wait. So what next? And
Yeah,
it's that philosophy of who cares if they say no? So what? Move on.
Exactly. That is life, right? You've got to. Do you not, if you're a graduate and you're looking for a job, do you say, well, I'm not going to apply for any jobs because some employers might turn me down, right? You don't do that, do you? So what's the difference? You go and talk to people. You don't care about the people who don't have time for you. You only care about the people who do. No one looks back at their career path and thinks about all the people who never responded to their messages. What they do remember is all the people who did.
That is very true. That is very true. And when in actually our community here, we have people all over the place. So people who are just starting out to people who have 6- and 7-figure businesses. So they're all over the place. And when you talk about joint ventures, it's all about connecting with other people's audiences. And I talk to people all the time about use other people's audiences. And joint ventures is the perfect way to hook up with somebody else's audience. What you've described, it's actually when you were actually describing, go out and do this and find this person, find that person. I was like, wow, that's a lot of work. And so now it's making more and more sense to me why I would want somebody else who is just like, that's what they specialize in. They specialize in helping you get other people who have your exact target audience that don't compete with you. They're a complementary service so that then you can hook up and join forces so that you could serve even more people.
Correct. It's again, it's not just that it's less work to approach people, but it's also less work to sell to people who've come through referral, right? Compare the scenario where you are approaching somebody who's cold, doesn't know who you are, right? They don't really want to take your call. They don't really want to speak to you. They don't know who you are. I contrast that with someone who's come by recommendation, where it's been this person here has actually recommended you and said I should speak to you about this topic. It's a very different dynamic. And I actually sent an email last week, and what it said was the subject line was "Face it, you're not good at selling." Of course, some of us are very good at selling, but what I was trying to say is you'll never be as good a salesperson as the person who recommends you. Right? You'll never, however good you are, right? It never feels as good as when someone has actually said, "You should speak to this person. I think they can help you solve this problem." And there's less. It's less about you persuading the person that you're the person for them. The dynamic comes more about, let's have a conversation about where you need help, and let's discuss whether we're a fit for each other. It's not a sales conversation.
Right.
It certainly doesn't feel like one.
Yeah, and what I teach with my clients is I don't teach selling at all. I teach about how to provide value so that they look at you and say, wow, you're the right person for me. You've provided value. And there's like two sides to that, because you want to be able to provide value. Then again, if I'm talking about all the stuff and providing value and helping, little tidbits of results that I can give you and actionable things, that's great. And you're getting to know me a little bit. And yet when somebody else who knows me, whether it's a client, a JV partner, or somebody else says, hey, you should talk to Regina because, whatever, it makes a big difference when that comes from a different voice.
Yeah. And just business owners generally a lot of business owners feel very uncomfortable about the sales process. If you watched the various training programs that are around, they talk about handling objections and taking people through all these steps. I remember buying books like $1 Million Consulting Proposals, and it just seemed very, very complicated. And it's like, oh, have I done this step? Have I done that step? You don't, it feels a lot more natural when you're going through a conversation with somebody. And, you know, the difference is where I used to have people come to my email list, I used to have to a certain extent, have to pitch to them. I had to develop a proposal. The people I work with now, it's just not the same process. So I think for business owners who generally do not enjoy selling, do not enjoy having to go put themselves out there all the time, do not enjoy having to reach out to people cold, this is a much more enjoyable way to build your business, right?
Mhm.
And like, what are you waiting for? Business is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to feel like you're hauling a huge weight on your shoulder up a steep hill.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of new business owners and even business owners who have been in, you know, up to like, I will say up to about 5 years or so, you know, after that 5-year mark, you're either I'm going to keep doing this or I'm done kind of
Yeah.
thing. So up to that point, a lot of business owners, they actually think that way. I work with mindset a lot as well. And, you know, the first mindset thing that we talk about is, you know, you're not in this alone. And that's in your head too, that you have to do everything by yourself. All you need to do is ask. And there's more than enough people. You said it earlier, is that people are anxious and willing to help you if you would just simply ask for the help.
Correct. And that's actually the other major benefit of having a joint venture network. It's not just about dollars and cents. It's not just about people who refer business to you. It's actually also a JV network can become like a little mastermind group where you actually have like-minded business owners where you can, you know, tap into them and say to them, I have this problem, can you help me? You know, you run fantastic webinars that convert, mine don't. What am I doing wrong? Or what are you doing right that's working? And things, that's where it can be really valuable. Being an entrepreneur can be very lonely. Having a network of other businesses to support you is priceless. And that in itself can be worth more than the business they refer you to. Just enabling you to change the way you do things so that your conversions are much higher, or the value of the business that you get is a lot higher.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I do not use and don't like the term solopreneur. So when somebody tells me,
I agree with
when
you.
somebody says I'm a solopreneur, this is really, and
Yeah.
you're actually going to build a business as a solopreneur. None of us build a business alone. None of us are a solopreneur. We all start building our network. So if you know what you're doing when you're building your business, the first thing you do is you start looking for people who can help you.
Correct.
So you're not in it alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need, it's very important if you are the sole proprietor and you don't necessarily have staff, it's really important that you have other people to tap into, because you need objectivity. All right, there are things that are, I've thought of examples, for example, where I'm writing emails and I can't quite nail what I want to say in the email. And sometimes just having someone else to talk it through with, there's a burst of creativity you get by interacting with other people. Business is not something you can do by yourself.
Yeah.
And if you do, I don't think you're going to be very successful at it. Most of us are not going to be very successful.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who has been a true solopreneur who's been successful, to tell you the truth. Everybody that I know has somebody, and it could be, you know, it could be joint ventures, it could be, you know, other colleagues, friends, whatever. There's always somebody there who is helping them, you know, holding them accountable or whatever. They have a coach or a consultant or somebody that they're working with, somebody who's helping them. They're building their team. Now, you said something a minute ago that I just want to tap in on is about, it's not about one JV partner. You can have this community of partners that you connect with that all have different pieces. I remember back in the day there was a networking group that I belonged to, and it's one of the big international networking groups. And at the time, the group that I was in, It's one of those groups where you get up and you do your sales manager minute and you tell people what a good referral is. And there was this group that was inside this group that was made up of, they called it the wedding mafia. And there was a DJ, there was a wedding cake person, there was a wedding dress person, there was a tuxedo shop, you name it. Everything that you would need for a wedding was in this group. And they were basically working together, and they gave each other so many referrals, because when one person got a referral, everybody got a referral.
Yeah.
That's like, to me, that's like JV at its finest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember when in fact, one of the things that really got me much more interested in networking was, I remember going to a networking group and seeing a power circle. Within the networking group, there was a financial advisor, there was a mortgage broker, there was a lawyer, and it was like this ecosystem, right? When the mortgage broker, when the person in the real estate sold property, right, the buyer needed the mortgage, right, and when you negotiate the sale of a property, you need a lawyer to deal with that as well. And there was just constantly movement between those the three entrepreneurs who needed to draw on each other the entire time. And it becomes, as I said, it becomes like a natural. It becomes like a natural. It becomes just a very natural flow. This is where I serve my community, but I don't have all the answers. I don't do everything, and you shouldn't. People actually like working with someone who occupies a niche, and then there are other people that they can draw on. And I think what people forget about joint venture partnerships, it's people think a lot of it in terms of, what can you do for me, right, as a partner? How can you help me? How can you drive business to me? Actually, the starting point is the other way around. It's, what can they do? How can you help? How can you help them? And when you approach in that way, it works a lot better, because let's say I meet you, and I think I find what you do really interesting. The starting point is actually, what you do would really benefit my audience. How can I support you? How can I promote your next webinar? And it's automatically a win-win. I want to help you from the start, but it's also something that my audience need, right? So it's also, I want to promote you. So you benefit, and you're helping my audience at the same time. That is how a joint venture partnership should work. It shouldn't be a case of, well, if I tell my audience about your product, will you tell my audience about mine? It should be much more of the fact that our audiences both have a need for each other, and that's why we struck up the relationship.
Wow, that is some great tips right there, and thoughts for people who are want to move into other people's audiences and make those connections, and bring on more clients for them. Joint ventures is a perfect solution for many, I think for everybody, to accomplish that. So we're just about at our 30-minute mark, believe it or not, from our conversation. So tell me, so if people wanted to hook up with you, tell us a little bit more about the types of people that you work with, and how people would contact you to get in touch and talk more about JV.
Sure. So I primarily work with coaches and consultants who are selling their expertise, right? So you may be a coach, you may be a service-based business. So you may be an accountant, you may be a lawyer, you may be a financial advisor. But what you're looking to do is you're basically looking to leverage partners as JV partners as your way to get in front of ideal clients. And I do that in two ways. I have a done for you service where I go and bring the partners on board for you, or I have a done with you, which is a coaching program where I essentially introduce you to JV partners, and then I guide you on how to onboard them. So if you want to find out more, I run a webinar on the last Thursday of every month. So I'm actually running one this Thursday at 2:00 Eastern. And if you want to register for that webinar, the address to go to is www.captainjv.co. So I don't know if there's any way to put that in the chat. It's a really easy address to remember.
I think I put, it's .co, not .com.
Yeah, .co.
CaptainJV.co. And what we'll do is we'll make sure that is out in the main chat, so that everybody did I get it right?
Yeah, that's the correct one. Yeah.
So we'll make sure that that's out in the chat for all 3 platforms that we're airing this on right now. So if anybody wants to hook up with that, it's a free webinar, and you can learn even more and more about how to connect with other people's audiences using joint venture relationships. And I know I have joint venture relationships with a number of people, and it's exactly for that reason. So I specialize in coaching and consulting and helping coaches and consultants actually bring in more clients, mainly through their content creation. I do not create their landing pages. I do not manage their social media. I help them put stuff in those. I don't do the other hands-on stuff. So I have people who I can refer out to. So it's those joint ventures who is like, oh, you need a landing page? Hey, I got a guy. Hey, I got a girl. It's like,
Exactly.
It's so good to be able to say that, especially for your clients. You don't want to ever, have a client that you're chatting with and they're like, okay, so what do I do? How do I create that landing page? Well, you know what? I just help you with the content and what's going on the landing page. I have no idea. So you're going to have to go figure that out.
And I've had that. I had that exact situation where people have managed to help me with some things, and when I say, okay, where do I go for this? And they go, I don't know. I can't recommend anyone. And it kind of makes you feel, doesn't make it, you look at them and you kind of feel there's something missing there, right?
It puts you off.
Yeah, it puts you off. It puts you off because, as I see it, having a network is part of the service, right? You don't expect somebody to have all the answers, but you do expect them to have a network.
Exactly.
And if they don't have it, it is off-putting.
So for everybody who's tuning in, I will make sure that the captainjv.co is on there. And you said it's every
It's
Thursday,
the last Thursday of the month.
Thursday month?
Yes, that's the last Thursday of the month, except for December, when it's actually the Thursday before the holidays. So in December, it'll be December the 21st.
Excellent. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danny, for joining us on
Thank you
Coffee with
me.
Regina. And for all of you who are looking for information on hooking up with JV partners, you have to tune into one of Danny's webinars. I know I'm going to. I haven't been to one of them yet, and now that I know about them, I'm going to be at one too. So thank you for this information. This is such valuable information, especially for people who are looking to grow their client base in, I'm going to say, an easy and almost effortless way. Reach out to people and ask them, those people who can help you. They're out there.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And for everybody watching, we will see you next time on Coffee with Regina. Bye for now.
Bye.